Welcome to State of Ed, a podcast about education inside the classroom and out. My name is Marc.
And I'm Nick Simone.
How are you today, Nick?
Nice to be here on a Saturday talking education with you. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. This is one of the rare times that Nick and I are actually face-to-face, or in this case, kind of side-to-side, recording the podcast live in the same room. And we are here in Massapequa over at Berner Middle School for EdCamp Long Island 2016. And outside, and you might even hear the footsteps as we record, outside are about 800 educators all here for what's called the Unconference. And we're going to get to meet a whole lot of people today. I'm very much looking forward to it. And this podcast will be a little bit different than our typical podcasts, and it will have a bunch of different conversations sort of intercut throughout. So pardon the jumping around, and also pardon some of the noise and the doors creaking open and the footsteps in the background, but that's all part of recording in this very nice chorus room that we're sitting in, staring at some double basses and cellos in the background. So.
Well, it's exciting just to be here, to see so many people eager on a Saturday morning to come to a school and voluntarily talk about education and policies and trends. The people we've met already have been quite impressive, very nice, and I'm excited for the day. Not something I've ever been to. So, and it's an interesting format. I don't know if you want to explain some of the ways that they go about running this conference, because it's not your typical sessions that are already predetermined.
So my preliminary understanding as I was running back and forth getting equipment and bringing it to the room is that there's a board that's forming, and literally the individuals who are here attending the conference are writing down topics that either they want to lead or they want to be part of, and they're posting it on the board, and anyone at any point can go and attend any of those sessions. So really nobody knows exactly what this day will entail, and it really just is a product of what everybody wants to learn and wants to know about. And it's a fairly impressive concept, and I'm very, very much interested in seeing how it's executed.
Yeah, I mean, while you've been, you're the tech genius behind our podcast, but while you've been working there and I've been doing errand work, the board is full. There's a lot of people up there. They're excited in the hallways. You can see a lot of people are reconnecting with, I guess, educators that they've known from other conferences or whatever means they've been in contact with each other. And there's a lot of topics up there. So it seems to be that they divided up into 4 different sessions, and then across each session there might have been maybe 15 or 20 rooms. So it looks like it should be an exciting time for all the attendees.
And this might be a good time to let you know that I did sign us up to lead a session on podcasting. So surprise.
I hope that's you and not us.
No, it's actually us, as it turns out. So and actually more you, and I'll sort of take the support role. But anyway, we're looking forward to a whole lot of fun and some laughs and meeting some really great people. And like Nick said, we've already met a few really great people so far, and very much looking forward to seeing what the day holds in store for us. So we're going to pause right now, and we'll be back very shortly with our first few guests.
All right, thanks, Mark.
We're back with Audra Beberman, who is a tech integration coach over at East Williston. Audra, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And can you share with us a little bit about what you do over at East Williston?
My first job in East Williston was actually just an educational technology specialist, which means it's someone who teaches computers to students. I started out for 13 years. I was the K through 4 teacher, and the kids would come to me once a week. And then I moved up to the middle and high school, and then my role changed again. And now I'm teaching and doing professional development with teachers. So every day I have an appointment calendar, and teachers can access it through Google, and they sign up to spend time with me during the day, during their prep time, their lunch time, before or after school. And I either meet with them one-on-one, or I meet with them in groups or like teams. It depends on the school. And I teach them something that they want to learn about technology, whether it's how to use a Google Calendar, or how to use their smartboard, or how to use Google Docs or Google Classroom or something else, whatever it is that they want to learn. And then sometimes once they've learned that, they want me to come to their classroom to work with them with their students. So that's basically what I do.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
That sounds
Yeah, it's a really fun job. It's really
challenging.
It's challenging, but it's also gratifying, because you get to see what you've done with the teacher take hold in the classroom, and then hopefully they don't need you anymore, and they can just go forward with what you've taught them and work with the kids.
So what are we're going through a period of transition involving technology in our district. We're in different schools, we're in the same district, and we just started a one-to-one iPad initiative. So this sounds particularly intriguing for us. So what are some of the challenges that you find when you're working with teachers and trying to teach them to be innovative and creative implementing technology?
Where we started was iPads. We started with the 6th and 7th grade. We were one-to-one with the 6th and 7th grade only with iPads. So what we did was we had what we call model teacher, just like they do at BOCES, but we did it in-house. We brought people in to teach them how to use the iPads and how to integrate them. But that was a very small group of teachers because it was a small group of kids. But now we're not only one-to-one with iPads, although we're phasing those out, we're now one-to-one with Chromebooks from grades 7 through 10.
Okay.
And grade 4 has them in their classrooms, grade 5 has them in their classrooms. They can't take them home, but they're still considered one-to-one.
Right.
And we're hoping to spread further as the budget allows. The greatest challenges, people who are afraid, I think, more than anything, of change, of fear of getting it wrong. A lot of people embrace it because they're really excited to have something that will help them. They like the idea of Google Classroom because it's something that the kids can do their work on, turn it in, there's nothing lost, there's really very little paper anymore, and they have all their resources in one assignment. So when you make an assignment in Google Classroom, there can be the question and answer paper that they need to turn in, websites that they need to go to, videos they need to watch, all kinds of relevant resources. But they also have the spot where they need to do the work, and it's per child, so their name's appended to the file, all of this great stuff.
Well, the teacher in me has like a million questions. I'm just going to narrow it down to one.
Okay.
When you brought up Google Classroom, I've been using a lot of different learning management systems throughout the years, but I've never used Google Classroom. I've used Schoology, Canvas. Do you have a preference?
It's so funny because that's the one thing we don't have. We have a very small school district. It's only 3 schools, high school, middle, and elementary. And we don't have an LMS, a learning management system.
Okay.
And a lot of people, although we are looking at Canvas, we're talking about it because we do want single sign-on. That's something we're very, my boss is the director of technology and science. He and I are very passionate about wanting to get kids to technology faster. And single sign, and teachers also, of course.
So for those of us who don't know what single sign-on is, can you explain?
Yeah, it's when you log into one account, like something called Canvas, and you don't have to log into anything else. So if you're logging into an app, a program, your Google Docs, your Gmail, you don't have to keep using your passwords. And especially for little kids, it's really, really hard for them to remember. And usually we give them the same passwords. And it's very, it's even tough for them, especially if they have a long last name, it's tough for them to do their username and their password and their email address, whatever. So single sign-on means that that's one thing, and they're signed on completely to everything.
Now, you wouldn't consider Google Classroom in the same realm?
That isn't really an LMS because when you put your grades in there, you can't really put them anywhere else. So we use Infinite Campus for our student management system.
Right.
So using a student management system has to really integrate with whatever you're using for an LMS, and this doesn't.
Right, yeah, so if you guys did use that, you would incorporate it fully.
Yeah, it would have to be you can incorporate that into Canvas, but you can't, we can't put our grades from Google Classroom yet. But Google Classroom does evolve very quickly.
Okay.
So we're kind of hoping that maybe there's going to be a way at some point. Infinite Campus also is very closed structure, so it doesn't allow for a lot of uploading and stuff. So
what I love about your role is that you're able to work one-on-one, small groups, because I think one of the challenges we face is that there's such a wide range of knowledge of teaching by teachers in technology. I think that's what makes it frustrating, is that you try your best to have professional development, but it never really works because somebody is so far advanced in one class and somebody still doesn't even know how to log on to a program.
I think that's one of the values of my position, is that even though I still do teach teacher-centered classes, and I've taught, we have a model teacher group who's going through with me right now with the Chromebooks, and they're all at different levels. The things that are most successful is when we group people at the same level or we do one-on-one. Because when I can work one-on-one with someone in their own personal frustrations, they don't have to be embarrassed in front of anyone else. They don't have to talk to anyone else. They don't have to show in front of anybody else their shortcomings. And they feel much more relieved when I leave that I can come back. Any PD that I've given has always been well received. I'm not patting myself on the back. I know I'm a good teacher, but it's not because, I'm a super teacher. It's fun stuff that I teach. But the fact is that if they don't use it right away, they're never going to remember all the steps to do, even if they wrote everything down meticulously. And something's going to go wrong, because often it does. It's technology. So I think having someone at your disposal? No, not right. Disposal. When you
Hopefully you're not disposable.
I'm not disposable. I hope. When you call them and I happen to be sitting in my office, or you text me because everyone has my cell phone number. Oh my God, something went wrong. I don't know what I'm doing, and I could say I'm coming, or tell me the problem because I'm in another school. Maybe I can solve it right now. Because I'm at your disposal, because I'm able to do that. I'm not in front of a room of 25 kids where I can't talk to you right now. I think that makes them feel better.
Credit to your district, because you are providing such a service to the teachers, but you have the luxury to do so because it's your full-time job.
Right.
And granted, I'm sure you're bouncing around the building.
I do some other stuff. I'm also our webmaster, and I do some other things as well. But this is the best part of the job. It's so great to watch somebody else go, aha, they get it, and then to watch them turn around and use it in their own room and succeed at it is really gratifying.
And what about the challenge for you just to keep up with everything? Because I'm sure
that was my question. I was like, where do you go for your ideas?
I do EdCamp, but I also have a really strong PLN on Twitter. I have a really strong professional learning network of my own. I read tremendously. I'm also doing my admin program right now, so I have a lot of different perspective going on in my life as far as professional development and how teachers feel about things versus how administrators feel about things. So that's helped me. How do I learn things? Trial and error. A lot of people ask me that a lot. Where did you learn that? Did you go to a class? And I say, no, I actually, trial and error. I'm not afraid to break things. That's why. I think most people are like, if I push that, is it going to break? Right. What am I going to do to this? Right. And the fact is that it's not going to break. It's just, something's going to happen, and you're going to see what it is that's going to happen, good or bad. And they don't realize that.
So you said a minute ago that there are differences in how teachers approach it versus how administrators approach it. So what are the differences that you were referring to?
It depends on the person. It's a very individual thing, but administrators see, I think, the value of using these tools to get things done more quickly and more efficiently. And we're trying so hard to be paperless in a lot of situations to save money. That's one. Cost savings is tremendous, especially when Google Apps for Education is free, when you're Google Apps for Education school. And there's so many great things about it, and it's constantly evolving. I think from the teacher's perspective, it's just one more thing to learn sometimes, and one more thing to manage, and one more until they see the value in it when they have the time. But because they can do it at lunch or at prep, they can see that, and I'll be there for them to help them. Then they start to see that, oh, I can really do this, and it doesn't take much more time or effort because I already have all these papers made.
Right.
I have this quiz made. I can transfer it into a Google form like this, and then it's a quiz online, and I don't have to make 3,000 copies, and I don't have to grade it by hand because there's all these tools to grade it already, and they start to see the value.
It's funny that you said that because I literally just had this conversation, a similar conversation with a teacher yesterday who had her stack of papers and her folders and her big bag that weighed 75 pounds and her iPad in her hands. And I jokingly said to her, I said, we have to help you figure out a way to sort of carry less of these papers or fewer papers and just get more of this onto the iPad. And she said, I know, but I'm afraid, I'm this and that, all the different things that you mentioned, because she's had for however many years she's been teaching the comfort of knowing the paper is in her hand, the paper is in her bag, and she feels the weight of it and she knows that she's doing her job.
Right, the physicality of it is a big deal for teachers to give up. We're so used to schlepping bags because that's the thing that we do. I still schlep around a bag full of things. It's funny, I just cleaned out my bag yesterday and said, my God, that meeting was 3 weeks ago. Why am I still carrying that folder around? I don't even know. It should be back on my desk. But one of the ththings I try to do is when I walk into my office, which is really basically a closet inside a room, it's where the servers are, and it's literally a closet. But I pass by teachers all the time, and I'm looking at what they're doing on their desk. I mean, I'm not like eavesspying or eavesdropping or whatever, but I see them marking multiple choice tests, and I say, I don't want to be forward, but I have such an easier way for you to do this. You don't have to sit here by hand and mark these papers when you could really be doing something else.
There's an app on Google to
Google Forms. You have this quiz written on a test already, on a paper, and you've been giving the same quiz for years or something similar. All you have to do is type out the same thing or copy and paste it into Forms. Forms will grade it for you and send it back to the kids. You don't even have to do that part.
And they'll give you a statistical breakdown as well.
It tells you who passed, what questions were good, and how many kids passed, and all that stuff. It's just a no-brainer for me because I'd rather be doing lesson planning rather than grading papers. if I were them. I mean, it still can't, obviously, when it's constructed response, they can't.
Of course.
Right.
Google's not
And
going to grade
essays
that
have
yet.
to be graded,
Right.
yes, but
But
it
like
comes
when I
back to
walk
the-
in on a math teacher or a computer science teacher or a business teacher who gives multiple choice questions, and I look at them and all the math department always thinks, oh, Google's not for me, I can't use it because there's nothing on it for me. I'm always saying there is something for you.
Well,
So
that's the old saying, working smarter, not harder.
exactly, because that same teacher could use all those hours that she spends marking those silly tests doing something fabulous, or planning for her DECA club, which she's finally agreed with me, and she said, oh my God, I have so much more time. She said, we're doing such great things with our club, and I said, yes, that's the answer.
That's at the heart of it. So let's transition. Tell us a little bit about your role in making EdCamp a reality today.
Well, I think during the opening you heard Ed say that he got a tweet from Don, and I work with Don's wife Danielle, and so I don't know how the conversation came up, quite frankly. I really don't remember the first time we had a conversation about it, but I work with Danielle, and my boss Dave was also one of the founders. We were sitting somewhere and we said, oh, you know where we were? We were at CLE, which is Connected Educators Long Island, which is in Farmingdale each year. Okay. And we were at lunch talking about how we could do something about EdCamp, and we were all talking about what EdCamp actually is, because it's a national movement. It's obviously not just here. And we were talking, we could do this, and that was in April of the year before we did the first one. And so we had our first meeting at our middle school in East Williston, and it really became a reality. So my role, I do a lot of the computer stuff, clearly. I do the electronic board and anything, like merging names to the certificates that get handed out of people's attendance. You name it, I'll run around and I'll do it. Like yesterday, I was here putting up posters until 6 o'clock at night.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, I don't mind whatever somebody needs. Like yesterday, I went to Party City and got the tickets for the raffles. That kind of stuff. It's whatever needs to be done. Whereas like the 8 or 10 people who are always those kind of people wherever else, we're just 8 of those people who happen to do it together. So it's really good. We all work together pretty well.
And there was a million loose ends that need to be.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like yesterday, Ed and I were still texting until like 9, 10 o'clock last night about the wireless, because we were really worried about the wireless today, and he had to get a superintendent involved to get all the wireless access opened just for 12 hours. So it was a whole thing, but it takes a long time to get agreements for everything. So.
And will you be running any of the sessions today, or are you just going
I'm not, because I have to handle the board. And I'm going around taking pictures and tweeting and stuff. So I usually run a session at Celia. I'll run a session at other ed camps. I just don't have the time today.
Right. Okay.
Plus, I'll try to attend a couple because I do like to learn stuff.
Great.
And I saw her drawing on the board before, so that's how I entrapped her
okay.
and got her into the room to do the recording. So
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having
so
me.
much. Nice to meet
Really
you.
Nice to meet you
appreciate
guys too.
We're here with Don Gately, who is the principal of Jericho Middle School. Don, it's a pleasure to have you here on the show.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. It's really exciting.
So tell us about your role in EdCamp and how you got involved in this wonderful thing.
My wife and I went to EdCamp Philly, and I guess that was at this point maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. I think 4 years ago. We were just so excited from what we saw there, and I said, we really need to do this on Long Island. And we came back. Shortly thereafter, I put out a tweet and said, anyone want to get involved in putting one of these together on Long Island? So probably as a lot of ed camps started, we had a bar meetup, and it was, I think it might have been the summer or the spring, and we met at a pub right here in town in Farmingdale. It's kind of cool. We have like a Founders Day picture of that day, which is cool. And we set a date for the following September, and then we did the work that you do. I think the thing with ed camps too is that it's such a solid formula that if you rely on the guidance of ed camp and you kind of follow the formula and the advice that they give you, it just works every time. I mean, it's we're recording this at about 3 minutes to 10, and the first session's about to kick off. And I was getting a little nervous. Oh, the board's not filling up, but now there's at least 12. There's 12 sessions. There's 12 sessions in each of the slots, and so it's really going to go great.
And you're leading one of the sessions, if I'm not mistaken. So can you tell us a little bit about the one that you're leading and why you chose to do that one?
Yeah, I'm leading a session called "Why Is It Hard to Talk About Race? Let's Talk About It." I'm doing it with a colleague of mine, Sheila Jefferson, Doc Sheila on Twitter. It's something I feel strongly about. I think that first, it's very timely, and I do feel that people just don't. If they either do talk about it, or when they talk about it, they make things worse, or they don't contribute to making the world a better place, and they get angry with each other. And I'm growing increasingly convinced that if we can't talk about it in school, then gosh, where can we talk about it? Maybe they talk about this kind of thing in church. Maybe that's another setting where these conversations can take place. But even there, I think we're pretty divided. But in school, in public schools, we have a tremendous amount of diversity, and yet I think sometimes we avoid those conversations. You know, it's been said that, you know, race is the third rail of American culture. And so Sheila and I, you know, we've been having some conversation ourselves to talk about leading out a discussion here at EdCamp. I'd love to see it be the start of something where we facilitate these kind of discussions with educators.
What is Sheila's role in your school?
Sheila's an assistant principal in Freeport, and I connected with her through Twitter and other, you know, at EdCamps and things like that. So we've got to, you know, we've become friends, but I don't spend a lot of time with her. You know, we're sort of connected educators. I will increasingly spend time with her, you know, and you know, so we just have a partnership and a friendship. You know, she's black. And so I'll be the white guy in the conversation. I'll be playing the role of white guy. You know, I think you want to approach this with, like a sense of humor. And, you know, Sheila and I said, well, why can we do this? And we said, because we have a tremendous amount of respect for each other and we trust each other, right? Respect is really important. You know, I wouldn't say anything to hurt her. I respect her too much. I might, however, say something out of ignorance, or maybe there's something I don't understand. And we've discussed this. It's just, Sheila, what if in some discussions with you I mess up and I say something you find offensive? I think that's one of the reluctance. That's part of the reason why a lot of white folks are reluctant to have these conversations. I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to offend you by saying the wrong thing.
Right, because then you get branded or labeled something that you're not. You know.
Sheila said to me, well, you know, I think what people would be looking for would be just that you're reflective. And if it were pointed out to you, I guess I'd like to know that you would say, oh, I really didn't mean it like that, and I'm really glad you told me, and we'd move forward because we're friends. You know, that's what friends do. And so I think that's going to be the sort of focal point of our conversation, you know, and then invite other people in on the conversation too.
Well, I commend you guys for taking it on, because it's a very important topic right now. And it wouldn't be, you know, it'd be foolish for anybody to think it's not extremely relevant.
I know.
But what I also think I'm impressed about with EdCamp is the mixture of principals and superintendents and teachers all really coming together.
Yeah.
Right? Is that something that they try to focus on?
Totally. And it's also a real flat hierarchy too. I love that too. Like, you know, people, you know, in the introductions inside, you didn't hear anyone's roles, or, you know, we were pleased to thank the folks in Massapequa for hosting us, but for the most part, people we're all learners, right? So it's you know,
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, we really appreciate you stopping by, and good luck with the session today.
Oh, and thanks for being here with us. I think it's great that we're you know, pushing out the message and sharing with everybody.
Terrific. Great. And thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you again.
Okay, we're back, and we're very lucky to be joined by Ed Kemnitzer and Joe Wiener. And Ed is over in Massapequa School District, and Joe is over in the Jericho School District. And these two gentlemen have been a huge part of putting together EdCamp Long Island today. So thank you very much for having us, first of all. And Ed, I know I've been kind of bugging you via email the last few months, so thanks for replying and not just letting that go. I know, Joe, you'd run a session, and Ed, you'd run a session a little bit earlier, so eventually we do want to talk about that. But first, we want to talk about what kind of effort it takes to put together a program like EdCamp Long Island.
Sure, I think it's a group effort. It takes a lot of people and a lot of initiative, because there are a lot of things to get done, and it's a pretty egalitarian group. We don't have a leader so much. There's no organizational structure, so we're all just pitching in and doing things based on our strengths. So it's a lot of work, but everyone contributes equally, and we get it done.
Ed told me he was actually the leader, but so Ed, what's your take on how this whole thing came together?
I mentioned this morning that there was a tweet 3 years ago, thinking about starting an EdCamp Long Island chapter. Who's interested, meet at East Williston, Willits Road Middle School. And we just showed up there, and there was, I don't know, I mean, 9, 10 of us, and we started discussing how we can really redo professional development on Long Island and offer free space for teachers to learn, free space for administrators to share ideas, really try to just redevelop what we see as education. So we've been doing it 3 years. It's getting better each year. We have more people showing up. Today we have over 400 checked in. I was just saying to Joe in the hallway before, that's nice to see new faces, which shows us that this momentum is definitely on its way. But we were discussing how we maintain that. So,
Right. I think that's our next great challenge. How do we maintain the network that we've developed and built today through until next year's EdCamp? Because we have only one event a year, so we really have to structure ways for people to stay connected and stay involved.
Right, and how do you avoid them from saying, "Okay, I did EdCamp, and that was great. So now what?"
Right.
yeah, we today we mentioned that there's Nerd Camp November 5th. We try to build on that. And then Bill Brennan does a conference in Farmingdale. We try to get people there because we know if that conversation continues, come March or April in Farmingdale, we can sign people up on that event for October for EdCamp. So, 3 events now on Long Island. That's nice. We're definitely trying to figure out ways to continue the conversation.
Yeah. I think also we should explore partnerships with other EdCamps in the area, because for people who have been to an EdCamp Long Island this year, maybe they were at EdCamp Long Island last year, that's sort of a very narrow experience, and EdCamps are different. Different places do it differently, and I think it also helps to underscore how different each is because of the nature of being participant driven. So it's organic. The sessions pop up the day of, so you really get a wide range of things to do and a wide range of sessions. And I want people to see that it's not going to be the same 25 sessions a year from now. It's going to be 25 completely new things. I think the best way to do that is to experience another one in another place locally. That was terrible, by the way, and please fix that up.
This being my first EdCamp, I think there's so many aspects of it that I'm very impressed by, but I really do think the demeanor of the leadership, I mean, they're so welcoming and you're engaging, and I think people, the more they meet, people like you guys, they're going to, word of mouth is going to spread, and you're going to see more people, because you're just here to help improve education all across, our schools.
Absolutely.
There's no other agenda.
Right.
It's just an opportunity for people to learn from each other in a very, I think, a very creative way.
And that's one of the reasons why I like the EdCamp format. Yeah. It's free from the big expo halls and giving away or trying to push new textbooks or the latest program for the districts to buy and spend thousands of dollars on. This is all about the learning. We're here for one reason, and it's taking control of our own professional development.
And
I'm sorry.
Yeah, there are superintendents that are sitting next to substitute teachers.
That's right.
People are just all working together. So I've been very impressed.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be more of a vendor presence just because I guess I'm trained to. I saw that there were sponsors on the program, and I just figured, okay, well, they're going to give you a 6-foot hero. You're going to want a table and try to hawk their wares. So it's kind of impressive that they're kind of kept out of the gates.
Yeah, it's nice that you're not here to be pressured to buy a textbook or a textbook series. We actually probably do the opposite and tell people to ditch textbooks.
Exactly.
But it is nice that you come here and the focus is learning, and that's it. There's shared leadership, as you mentioned, from the original founding group to the people who attend our meetups once a month. You saw today, different people are doing so many different things, and they own that, and that's great.
Both of you gentlemen are on the administrative side of things, and one of the I guess the founding elements of our podcast is that I'm an administrator and Nick is a classroom teacher, and we try to balance or share those different perspectives of things. But you had mentioned, Ed, that professional development. This is a great professional development opportunity. What kind of challenges do you find that you're facing, or Joe, that you're facing in your schools? That the challenges of professional development that you're facing, and how does EdCamp sort of help to solve or resolve some of those issues?
It's funny, every single time now we craft professional development, that's a big part of my job. We always say we should do it EdCamp style, and that's become sort of like the saying, let's do it EdCamp style. And when you think about what EdCamp style means, it's just giving teachers choices. And we've realized that when you force professional development down teachers' throats, it's not effective. And we need to give them choice in what they want to learn, choice in what they want to grow in. So we're doing that in Massapequa now. We use Model Schools Days through BOCES, and we offer an EdCamp style, I don't know, what do you want to say, smorgasbord of classes to take, and teachers do what they want to do. And we no longer say, we're pulling you out of your classroom for 4 straight periods or 5 straight periods, and you're going to learn this topic, even though it may be something you'll never use in your career, but you're going to learn this. We've sort of gone away from that, which is nice.
Right. I think that the two challenges, first is relevance. It has to be meaningful to the people listening to it, because if it's not, nothing happens with it. It might be an exciting presentation. It might be a fun 2 hours, but as soon as you leave the room, nothing else is going on because it's just not relevant. And the second is that it's got to be interactive. The stand and deliver model, just like it doesn't work in the classroom anymore, it doesn't work for teachers, it doesn't work in professional development. So I think walking down the hallways here, watching, peeking into each session, very rarely do you see someone standing up in front of the room with a bunch of people sitting at a desk listening and taking notes. That's just not happening here. Everything is a conversation, everything is interactive, everything is sharing ideas, sharing resources. And I think that's the model for professional development moving forward.
We're very fortunate to have listeners. I don't know how it happened. We have listeners outside of this state, and in some cases even out of this country. So if one of them is listening to this and is interested in hearing all these great things about EdCamp Long Island, wants to start their own EdCamp somewhere, what? And you had mentioned in the opening that the EdCamp people were very supportive. So who are the EdCamp people? And if you're allowed to, say their names, or if it's like an X-Files thing, or and how do you contact them, and what kind of support do they provide?
Sure. My first bit of advice would be do it. Do it this year. Do it in a month. Do it in 3 months. Don't spend a year planning it. We spend a lot of time planning this event, and it's terrific, but it doesn't have to be large scale. It works great with 400 people registered. It also works great with 50 people registered. And it works great with 4 sessions that span the whole day and breakfast and lunch, but it also works with 2 sessions and a bunch of people learning from one another, and then, continuing the conversation later. So I would say, if it's got to start small and build from there. Build an audience, build the need, and people will come, but just make it happen. As far as the National EdCamp Foundation, Kristen Swanson, thanks, Ed. She is terrific. She's very helpful. A lot of advice. She, again, gives you advice on how to generate interest and how to, find a venue and how to contact some people for sponsorship. But they're not going to plan it for you, and they're not going to tell you, dictate to you terms other than the basic tenets of EdCamp, like keeping it free from vendors and keeping it non-commercial and opening it to everyone and making it, on demand and organic, and sessions are proposed that day rather than being planned months in advance, and no keynote speakers, you don't have to fly somebody in and pay them a whole lot of money. Those are really the only ground rules. So they're going to be very helpful in terms of organization, in terms of ideas, in terms of pointing you toward other EdCamps that are models for the day. But other than that, it could look very different in New York, in New Jersey, in Florida, in China. There are EdCamps. It's international.
That's amazing. So while we have you guys here, if we could just shift away from EdCamp for a second. So on the podcast, we'd like to talk about a lot of relevant topics and things that are facing, our problems that are facing our teachers today and our students today, and the challenges. So in your estimation, what are some of the greatest challenges that you're finding that are being faced by your school or our schools in general today?
I feel like change is something that is tough for some people to go with, but I feel like we are changing often, and in most cases, I think it's a good thing. And time is key. So when we tell teachers we need to move here and change this and change that, that puts pressure on people, and educators feel that. But we do see that when those changes are made, and we believe in those changes, things work out. Right now we're building maker spaces in all buildings in Massapequa. That's a big shift for our library media specialist. Big shift. But they're leading these maker spaces as their instructional time. And now that we've done it and we're in the midst of building it even further, they love it. But I think just change and time are two factors that really sometimes don't jive with educators.
So how do you navigate that or those choppy waters?
So, I mean, if it's change that we believe in and decisions we make, we talk about what's best for kids, and we keep it at that. This is best for kids. This is the platform kids learn on, and we continue those conversations. The changes that are forced on us that we have to make, that sometimes we don't believe in, from the state, especially with assessments and standards, those are tough, because it's tough when you don't believe in something to really stand behind it, especially when teachers know that as a leader you don't believe in it either. But I think change in time is big.
I think it's so important also for building and district level administrators to model best practices and model experimentation, and also to create a climate and a culture where it's acceptable to try new things. And if something doesn't work, not to admonish someone or to rate them poorly as a result of it, but to debrief and figure out a way forward and an alternative. Talk about the goals, talk about what the purpose is, and then find another way to accomplish the goals or to meet that purpose. So I think that it doesn't necessarily start at the top, but it's a responsibility of the administration to create a culture where teachers feel free to experiment, to play around, to try new things. And that's how you
And trust is huge. That's my favorite quote I read on Twitter this year was, "Show me a building that doesn't trust its leader, and I'll show you a building that has yet to meet its potential." And that really is true. As leaders, you have to make sure that your staff trust you, as Joe was saying, that in that culture, people can take risks. People can feel as if they're going to have a growth mindset and do something. If it doesn't work out, it's fine. And that's what we're here for. And that's what EdCamp's about, too. So
definitely.
Well, thank you so much. We could have talked to you all day, but we really appreciate you giving us the opportunity, and really for letting us be part of this great event.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.